Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Hillsborough Junior High School's distance learning reopening meeting. I'm going to introduce a few folks who will be joining with us tonight. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Chris Miller. I'm the principal of Hillsborough Junior High School. We also have with us tonight Bella Barclay, teacher here at Hillsborough Junior High School. Erin Finder is our Director of Curriculum and Instruction. Chris Vandenhoevel, the Superintendent of Hillsborough Unified School District, and Diane Conger, who is our Director of Special Education.
I'm going to just tell people for interpretation to go down. Entonces, quiero decirles bienvenidos, gracias por estar aquí con nosotros. Esta noche vamos a estar discutiendo cómo vamos a abrir las clases, la escuela del Hillsborough Junior High en la semana entrante. Y si están aquí y necesitan interpretación, traducción al español, nomás tienen que ir al fondo de la pantalla aquí donde dice, hay un globo y dice interpretation o interpretación en inglés. Hay que imprimir allá y luego pueden escoger español y van a estar en un lugar donde todo está traducido para ustedes. Gracias.
All right, so I have received some questions, and I know you guys are interested in making sure you have as much information as possible about how we're going to reopen our school here at Hillsborough Junior High School. So before I do that, I just want to preface this by letting everyone know that our reopening was a collaboration with various people here at the school site. We had 5 classroom teachers on our reopening panel, our school counselor, a school psychologist, school nurse, 2 classified employees, and then myself. So these decisions weren't made lightly, and they were made with a lot of intention and a lot of forethought from various people involved. So to that end, I also need to say that we're going to be going through the schedule here in just a moment. The schedule is still being finalized as we continue to negotiate with our bargaining units, including our teachers union. So what I'm going to share tonight is what I believe is going to be how we're going to reopen, and I believe we will be very close to this, even regardless of how our negotiations come to a finalization. So with that said, let me move into our schedule. So I'm going to start by showing you what our schedule will look like on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We have a slightly different schedule scheduled for Mondays, but let me take the bulk of the week. So on Tuesday and then again on Thursdays, students will have their first, third, fifth, and seventh period classes. So the first period class starts at 8:30. All of the classes go for 1 hour. You will note that we have a half-hour break in between. We recognize that students and teachers alike need breaks from Zoom and from being engaged in schoolwork. So we have built those breaks in along with lunch. You'll notice on Wednesday and Friday, students have their second, fourth, and sixth period class. And then teachers will be available after the lunch hour to answer questions that may arise from students about their coursework or other questions that may come up. So the other question is, how much of this is going to be done online with the teacher present, and how much of this is, maybe working with peers and or doing assigned coursework on their own. So you should expect that roughly half of this class period would be done live, or a word you may have heard or may not have heard, synchronously. So that is live via some sort of video conference. We have used Zoom in the spring. We look at continuing to do that as we enter the 2020-2021 school year. So for example, if a student were to log on at 8:30 on Tuesday, there would probably be until roughly 9 a.m. A live synchronous interaction with the teachers and or their classmates, and then perhaps the remainder of the period would be done asynchronously or non-live, where they would be working on their assignment for the course. If we are to look at Monday schedules, Monday is the day that Hillsborough Junior High School has reserved for teacher meetings and professional development and planning and collaboration time. That doesn't mean that students are not going to have things to do on Monday. And it also doesn't mean that teachers won't be available to check in with students on Monday either. So as you can see, the expectation is that assignments will be sent out to students by 8:30 a.m. Students will spend, hopefully, the morning completing their assignments. There may be videos that get pushed out. There may be work to complete. There may be projects to work on, things of that nature. And then in the afternoon, teachers will be available again through sort of this office hour concept, where they'll be able to answer student questions via email. Potentially, they could set up small group or individual Zoom sessions and or speak to students or parents via phone. So that is our basic schedule as of now. Ms. Barclay, did you want to speak to that a little bit?
Oops, hold on one sec. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Bella Barclay, Miss Barclay for your students, and I teach 8th grade history and 7th grade AVID. As Chris mentioned, I was one of the teachers that participated in the junior high reopening committee. We devised a lot of different plans. Some were considering in-person, hybrid, and then eventually the distance model. So what I wanted to share with you tonight is what teachers will be doing in terms of this weekly schedule to support your students. So it's our intent to offer structure, support, and accountability and be in regular communication with your students as well as you. So as Mr. Miller stated, Monday will consist of teachers posting a video of themselves doing a lesson or some type of educational video, instructional materials, along with an entry-level assignment. So an assignment that we believe, based on those materials and videos, that they could unpack and build some understanding of the content. This model follows a flipped classroom, which you may have heard of, and most of the classes will have assignments that will take 30+ minutes on that Monday. Then, again, as Mr. Miller mentioned, depending on a student's schedule, they'll meet with that teacher and their classmates either on the Tuesday, Thursday, or the Wednesday, Friday. And this will be synchronous with live direct instruction and activity. For the most likely, this will start with a warm-up, just kind of connecting either the Tuesday or the Wednesday to the Monday instruction, and then some sort of informal assessment, sort of checking what kids understood and then where there might be gaps in that understanding. Most of us middle school teachers, we really like using games. They're non-threatening, so a lot of them will look like Kahoot, Quizzy, or Quizlet, just an easy way to kind of get a baseline of where they're at. And then based on that information, a teacher will do either a whole class lesson or break the students up into breakout rooms to further unpack that information. When a teacher breaks the students into breakout rooms, you may have experienced this in your work, you can drop into those. So as a teacher, if I have 5 breakout rooms going, I can drop in and check in with each group to make sure if there's any questions or clarify things. And so it doesn't look all that much different than a classroom with students working together in small groups. Additionally, most teachers will be using interactive slides. So when they present material, it won't be a passive experience. They'll be using platforms like, Nearpod, Pear Deck, Poll Everywhere to kind of get an idea of what the students are taking away from the slides, along with what the teacher is saying in that live session. all of the students' assignments, projects, and assessments will be posted via Google Classroom, which guardians can be added to. Once you're added, then you can see the classwork, due dates. You can also see which assignments your students have turned in and which ones they may not have yet. And then lastly, we're using a lot of student collaboration, project-based learning, and student choice to make sure students feel like they're at the center of all of this. Our goal is to make the beginning of this school year, and as long as we're doing distance learning, as exciting, fun, rigorous, and engaging as we can. And I just really want to emphasize, please don't hesitate to contact teachers. We will be in regular communication with you. We all really feel like we're a team in this, and we appreciate all the support you do from home. We want not only our students to understand the purpose of the material and content, but also you. So again, please reach out. We really appreciate you. And I think there'll be more information based on what each teacher's schedule and platforms will look like once school has started.
Thank you, Ms. Barclay. We did get one question regarding whether this is the schedule for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, and the answer to that question is yes. So this is the schedule for anyone who will be attending Healdsburg Junior High School. Let's see. All right. So as most of you know, during this time, students are not having the same level of connection with their peers or with their teachers being at a distance. We recognize that there is a need to support students through social emotional ways. And so we are looking to do that. We have a curriculum that we're going to be incorporating, and it will be taught through our physical education courses. And that curriculum is called Y-Try. Our school counselor will also be available to continue to support students via Zoom, by check-in via email, and also by phone. Additionally, this year we'll be getting more support from our district school psychologist as well as our district behavior specialist. And teachers are also going to be in communication with support staff and will emphasize relationship and team building at the start of the school year.
Can I add to this, Chris?
Yes, please.
And I spoke at length, but I really want to let you know we'll be doing frequent check-ins both with students, and if for some reason there's a concern, and even in those first couple weeks of school, we're going to be making sure we connect with families. We want to be in regular communication with you, and then all of the teachers are in regular communication with Ms. Carlson, our counselor, as well as our support staff. So we understand that this is a really different and trying time, and we want to make sure students are not only learning, but they feel supported socially and emotionally.
Thank you. There were some questions about grades and grading policy. So let me make this very, very clear that students will receive traditional letter grades during distance learning. I know this wasn't the case at the end of the school year last year, but we are going to have traditional letter grades. With that said, the expectation is that teachers will set clear assignment due dates for students who will receive grades for the work they complete and mastery, just as we would expect during in-person learning. So nothing significantly different in sort of the expectation that students are doing their assignments, completing their work, and showing mastery of standards. Teachers will be flexible with grading when there are some extenuating circumstances. Although we're working extremely hard to make sure everyone has, strong internet connectivity, we know that there are some things that can happen. Power can go out. There can be some extenuating circumstances that teachers understand, that I understand, and that we will be taking into consideration during this time of distance learning. Students are going to have multiple opportunities, multiple attempts to demonstrate that they have knowledge and have mastered the skills being asked of them. And then lastly, if students turn in work late, teachers are going to reasonably accommodate them, and that's in accordance with our already established board policies. So in order to make sure that students are able to get up and running from day one, our Chromebook distribution is going to occur this upcoming Monday and Tuesday, so August 17th and 18th. And you can see we have a schedule here. You should have received a communication from the school today as well, reminding of this schedule. So if you have a child who is coming in and will be a sixth grader this year, they will come in on Monday between the hours of 1 p.m. and 3:30 p.m. If you have a child who is an incoming seventh grader, that would be Tuesday morning between 9 and 11:30 a.m. And then for incoming eighth graders, the schedule is from 12:30 to 3. So we did do a collection of Chromebooks at the end of the school year in June. Most students were able to bring their Chromebook and charger in. However, some students did not. So those Chromebooks are currently disabled. They are not useful. You cannot do your assignments on them. So students will need to come in during the Chromebook distribution time to let us know that they have their Chromebook, and so we can enable it for them to be able to utilize. So that's the plan, to get students up and running so that they are able to join their classes on the first day of classes, which is Wednesday, August 19th. Furthermore, if you need assistance with internet access, please let the school know, let me know, let our site secretary know, let someone at the school know as soon as possible so we can begin connecting you with the appropriate resources so that your child has what they need to learn. Just wanted to point out that we do have health and safety protocols in place for parents, students, staff as well. But in this forum, focusing on parents and students. So at Healdsburg Junior High School, our front office is currently closed to the general public. That doesn't mean that we're not here and willing to assist you. We absolutely want to assist you. We're just not having the general public be able to pop in at their own discretion. So if you need assistance, the best way to get a hold of us is to call the office during business hours, anytime Monday through Friday between 8 and 4 p.m. The phone number is listed there, 707-431-3410. You can also email staff members directly. So if you know it's something for a particular class, you can email that particular teacher. And if you're not sure who to email, or if you just have a general question, you can email our site secretary, Lisa Licea. And again, our teachers and all of our staff are here to help this go as smoothly as possible. We want to help, and we're committed to returning communications in a timely manner. And I think Ms. Barclay was gonna speak a little bit from a teacher's perspective.
Yeah, and I'm also just looking at the chat. So first, addressing Daniel, Drew, Will. Yes, we'll all be using Google Classroom. Some teachers will additionally have a Google site, which will give you further information. And it's really important, please reach out to the teachers. I know all teachers will be reaching out to guardians, asking kind of your preferred method of communication, whether that's email, text, or telephone. We've built in a lot of office time, so I do believe the turnaround in getting back to both students and guardians will be relatively fast. So again, Google Classroom is, all teachers will be using that, and then many teachers will additionally have a Google site which functions as a website.
Awesome. If there is a need for you to communicate directly with someone, we can set up an appointment. If we do so, and you do come in, You will be required to follow all health and safety protocols. So you will have to maintain physical distance of at least 6 feet, wear a face covering, and then this was not included on the slide, but you will also have your temperature checked if you come in to the school. So all of those protocols are in place so that we protect the health both of you, ourselves, and our students. So there were a few additional questions that arose, and I wanted to just make sure that I was as clear as possible on those for you. So first, fall sports have been canceled by the North Valley League. There's not a clear decision yet on winter or spring sports. That will be that decision will be made at a later date. But the difference between us and the high school, all of our fall sports are canceled, not postponed, meaning they will not be rescheduled. So those sports that are would have been scheduled to start are not going to occur at the junior high school level this year. We may potentially reopen for in-person learning in a hybrid model. But I wanted to let you know that consideration will be made at the end of September, and it will be based on all public health recommendations and also in negotiations with our bargaining units. So through September, at least, we will be in this hybrid model. In this distance learning model. If we are able to move to a hybrid model, we would make that decision in late September, and it would take a couple of weeks to probably get that in place. So you'll hear more about that as we approach that deadline. Student schedules are available in Aries currently. So some students have already been, and parents have been checking Aries and have noted, kind of gotten to me and told me about their schedules already. So if you have not yet gone on to the Aries parent portal, or if students haven't gone on to their Aries account, they can go on and they will be able to see all their school schedules. If there's any question on that, or you're having difficulty seeing what the schedule is, by all means, reach out to us. We're happy to make sure that that all students have access to knowing exactly what their courses are. And furthermore, we are planning on creating a forum for parents to meet their child's teachers virtually. We're going to have some more details on this as it gets finalized. This will likely be in the evening, sort of in the vein of a back to school night. But again, that's still being hammered out with the teachers union, exactly what that will look like. But we definitely want to do something. We want to make sure that you have the opportunity to interface, albeit virtually, with your child's teachers. All right, that is everything that I have. Does anyone else on the panel have anything else that they would like to add?
Yeah, I'm noticing some questions that parents are asking. One was about due dates. Assignments don't need to be turned in during the class hours. I'm saying that because I believe that's the case. It's definitely the case for my class, but I would say 9 out of 10, probably 10 out of 10 of teachers would agree with that. Additionally, I want to reiterate that we're really going much more flexible on this because we're not there face-to-face with students. So when they turn something in, if it's not up to par, what you'll see is a teacher will respond in the comments on that assignment, and generally most of them will be done through Google. So they'll have comments and then specific feedback of what they need to work on, and then able to resubmit that. So I know last spring that was kind of constant in my practice, was things had due dates, but there was never points taken off if it was late. And I really wanted to make sure they got the feedback to get the full points or the best points they possibly could. Also, there was a question about textbooks and materials. And I do know that some teachers will be sending out physical materials like rulers and possibly textbooks, calculators, art supplies, etc. And I'll let Chris speak to that more.
Yeah, thank you, Bella. Yes, we will. Our first point of emphasis is to make sure that students have their Chromebooks so they can participate in school on day one. We are continuing to figure out all the different supplies and materials that students will need to have dispersed in the first week or two of classes. So I will be working on that, and I will be communicating that out with all families exactly when we will be able to safely have students or parents come to the school to pick up those additional supplies. Furthermore, trying to look, I think there might have been another question. So yeah, we will be reaching out and communicating that with you. Again, they won't have everything on day one of class, but again, the first week or two of class, we're going to be beginning to ease into more rigorous academic standards, and we're going to start with a lot of team building and things of that nature. So hopefully by the second, third week, we'll have every textbook and every bit of material that you need sent home safely with students.
Hey, Chris, can I jump in a little bit?
Yes, please.
Okay, great. So I just wanted to briefly touch upon those students that may have IEPs or 504s and talk about what that's going to look like next year a little bit. And while the district and each school site has a sort of a global distance learning plan, each individual student will have their own distance learning plan as it relates to their specific needs. And so that's in addition to their IEP. And so as those things are being developed, and those things will be discussed with the families, those calls should be going out now and getting those meetings scheduled, and they definitely will occur within the first 30 days of school starting. So your student will still receive the level of IEP services just virtually. So those things like occupational therapy or speech and language pathology or even adaptive physical education could be done via Zoom or via some sort of platform like that, as well as individual counseling. So we know that some of our students are struggling in that area as well. And so the school psychologist and the behavior specialist, who's also a clinical social worker, carries a caseload, and we're ready to serve those students with teletherapy. So the only thing I want to caution parents is as they're looking on to Aries, perhaps some of those nuances haven't been exactly scheduled yet, as we had to pivot quickly from hybrid to full distance. Some of those schedules might need to be rearranged based on some of the students' needs. And so if you have any questions or any concerns, reach out to Mr. Miller, myself, your case manager. If you don't know who that is, reach out to Mr. Miller, and we'll get your questions answered.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Conger.
Sure.
There was a question about whether or not students and families will be able to make the decision to keep students in distance learning, even if we are able to offer a hybrid model. The short answer to that question is yes. We will be able to continue to allow students to remain in a distance learning environment. I'm not sure if Superintendent Vanden Heuvel would like to speak to that maybe in a little bit more detail about our potential return if there's a hybrid model and if students will be able to stay in distance learning.
Yeah, so it's obviously up in the air. We're dependent on the state and its various protocols. So we actually had made the decision earlier this summer to not begin in person because from all indications, it didn't look like Sonoma County was ready with rapid testing and contact tracing to make it safe for kids and staff to return to schools. And then a few days later, the state made that call for us anyway. So we are dependent on that. That said, if something surprising does happen and somehow we have a very quick recovery in the month of September and all of a sudden we find ourselves off the state watch list as Sonoma County, we are going to say that we stay in distance learning through September 30th. It's just simply too hard for the district and families and students and staff to pivot so quickly. I think it's unlikely, honestly, that we will be off the watch list by the end of September, but we've set that as kind of our first benchmark. And then we will go from there monitoring the situation. But needless to say, it's an endeavor to start in distance and the beginning to pivot to hybrid. And it is our hope, I can speak for all of our staff, we desperately want to see the kids in school and see their happy faces in class, and get back to life as normal as much as we can, but we need to do so when it's safe. So.
Thank you, Superintendent Vanden Heuvel. All right, so this presentation will be on our website. I believe we will have it available on the district website as well, but it will definitely be available through the HJH website for, if you want to go back and look at something, or if there were folks who couldn't join us this evening for one reason or another. There's still a lot to figure out about school and the way it's going to look. We've done a lot, and we have hopefully figured out a way to safely and efficiently open up school in a way that students will be able to have rigorous academic standards. We heard parents loud and clear as well in the surveys about the need for additional structure. We're all committed to that as well, and hopefully that came through in the presentation today. For additional questions, we will be communicating with families regularly during distance learning, and there are simply some things that we have not quite figured out answers to yet. There was a question about, will we be having school photos? We have not figured out how we're going to do that, or if we're going to do that, or if it's safe to do that. So as we answer those questions, we will continue to communicate with families. So,
Chris, could I just interject one thing?
Absolutely.
I saw there was a question from Matt Villano on Facebook about, will students have the option to remain on distance learning all year, even if school does move to in-person? It's certainly our intention to be able to do that for our kids. Again, we don't have plans in place that are hard and fast yet for hybrid because we don't know when and if we're going to be able to do that. But we are operating under the assumption that we would have a portion of our students whose parents choose to stay home for obvious reasons, or choose to keep the kids home for obvious reasons. And we would like to continue to serve them. So again, that is our intent. And the other thing I do want to say is we actually have people watching Facebook, sending us the questions off Facebook right now, and it's incredibly hard to do because the screen scrolls so quickly. So we're going to be going back through all the Facebook comments from the various webinars this week, and we'll be posting an FAQ on the website for any questions that we might have missed.
All right. With that, I believe we have come to the conclusion of our webinar. I want to thank everyone for being with us tonight, parents who were able to be here. And I also want to thank our panelists, all of our folks from the district, and also our teacher, Ms. Bella Barclay, who is with us here today. And we all look forward to returning to school next week, albeit in a format that is less than ideal, but we will make the best of. Thank you.